Luke, we all know Brandon Moreno owns a victory over KaraFrance from 2019 by unanimous 3-round decision. They'll be fighting for the interim flyweight strap on Saturday. In what ways has KaraFrance improved as a fighter since that first fight that should affect who wins Saturday?
So, if you actually go back and you watch their first fight, it's funny that the dipping jab was something that got Nunes into trouble, because it actually got a little bit of KaraFrance into trouble in the first Moreno fight. If you go back and you notice, they were talking about some of the kicks that Moreno was throwing to the body and to the head, but it was actually because KaraFrance kept dipping and leaning off to his right side. He was trying to correct for that, and if you notice, KaraFrance tends to stay a little bit far away, so a lot of times he'll jab and then throw the overhand right and then delay and then throw the overhand left. That was a big weapon, for example, in the Askarov fight. So one of the things that's kind of interesting to me is the answer to your question, as best I can tell, is not anything that we've seen. Like, for example, the last loss on KaraFrance's record is the Brandon Royval fight. Since then, the biggest improvement I have seen is definitely in the defensive grappling and defensive wrestling on the part of KaraFrance. There were multiple times, like, for example, go to the Bontorin fight. Bontorin had his back for most of the first round. And there were times, man, where he was getting it was under the throat. He was taking his head back, all kinds of stuff. And he fought it out. He did okay with it. And then it was able to escape and then just put it on him on the feet. It was amazing. And even in the Askarov fight, right? Multiple times taking the back, fighting the hands, extracting himself off the fence, and then taking it back to being a striking affair. How about the time where he got lifted up off a body lock, and then he had this incredible balance early in the first round to stop Askarov from finally finishing the takedown? His defensive wrestling and his defensive grappling have come a very, very long way, to the point where he can't seem to fully stop the takedown, and he can't seem to prevent the grapplers from ever getting there. But once they get to some what you would think would be pretty dominant positions, he has neutralized the worst of that a lot, very, very effectively. Kind of interesting in that way. The question remains for me is, it's like, I don't think he can go out there and really wrestle with Brandon Moreno. But one thing I think he does have to do, BC, and I'd be curious to see what you think about this, is I think he does have to at least introduce some different threats this time around. Striking on the outside, KaraFrance is very good, but certainly Brandon Moreno actually is pretty good striking on the feet now as well, not just being a wild man. What I think really has to happen here is he's got to make Brandon Moreno confused. We'll talk about this more on Friday. So while I really appreciate how much KaraFrance has worked on his defensive grappling and his defensive wrestling, and it makes a huge difference, no doubt about it, I'm not totally convinced that will be the difference maker in the case of the Brandon Moreno rematch. Where are you on this?
No, I'm with you on that. This is such an interesting fight. I mean, it's a great fight. It really is. Interim title mattering in this case or not. And I do think it's largely gratuitous that there's a title in this fight. But KaraFrance has been so good in these 3 fights since being submitted by Royval, which was his second loss in 3 fights, including the fight to Moreno. And it just looks, the intentionality, the power, the setups. I wonder if he is the rising stock. I know Moreno's coming off a defeat to Figueiredo, and they may trade wins and losses for as long as they keep fighting, for all we know. But I do wonder, if this is KaraFrance's chance. We're going to need to see the most of him, I think, that we've seen up to this point. There's certain things he was able to do against Garbrandt, who's got some vulnerabilities, although give credit to France, KaraFrance, he did just that, and he got him out of there. And even Askarov, Luke, who I think made some big mistakes, but I think also something was off when we look back in the fight. I think we're going to see it much better. And I don't know, I'm an Askarov super fan, so I'll protect him at all costs. But I do think that was not the best version of him, and we'll see them rematch down the road. But, Luke, I did want to throw to some Brandon Moreno sound to get his answer to the same questions I essentially asked you about how much France is better and what happened in that first fight. But before I do, always a fun chat with Brandon Moreno, which I had this week. As any sound in this, you can check it out, youtube.com/morningcombat. But, Luke, I don't like the assassin baby anymore for him because, he's going to be 30 eventually, Luke, right? I pitched to him a new nickname. I want to get your thoughts on it. El Huevos Grande. He didn't like it. He didn't like it. He didn't want it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little...
It says it all. Dude, it says it all, bro. Okay?
I mean, I guess if there's, Brandon Royval is raw dog, so I guess you could be big balls.
Oh, shout out to Jai Herbert. Black Country Banger, that is top shelf, Luke. Okay, that is top shelf for a nickname. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, there's 3 Moreno clips. I'm going to skip the first one because it's about Figueiredo. I don't really care about that right now. So let's go to the second one, which is Moreno discussing KaraFrance's adjustments since the first fight. Let's hear it.
So, yeah, I mean, I can talk about the technical stuff, definitely. But I think the most important thing with KaraFrance is he's more mature and he has more experience. He looks more confident in the moment when he steps in the octagon. And that is a amazing weapon to put in the fight, because you can have all the technique, but if you don't have the confidence in yourself, nothing else matters, right? So that will be the most biggest challenge in this fight to me. Like to even with that, like put my pressure and go against KaraFrance.
One thing you got to agree with me here, BC, is KaraFrance, for all the improvements that he's made, you know, this goes, I'm not going to say unnoticed, but I'm just going to say it's worth mentioning out loud. Comes from a camp where the guy who runs it, Eugene Behrman, is, you know, I don't know if he's a genius, but he's pretty goddamn close. They are going to have a good game plan. Now, whether or not KaraFrance can execute it against this version of Brandon Moreno, obviously highly debatable. We shall see. Brandon Moreno, it currently sits as your odds-on favorite according to the odds makers. I think most folks probably expect Moreno to win, given he's showed a bit of a higher ceiling. Nevertheless, what do you make of that? That like KaraFrance, they have 3 rounds under their belt against this guy. He is much improved in the grappling and defensive wrestling. He already was a very good striker, and now they're going to have a little bit of a switch to make and all the little adjustments they want to. What do you believe? How effective do you think that will be?
Very effective, in a very good fight. Like I could wait till Friday. Or I could tell you right now, KaraFrance is going to win this fight, Luke. And it took a while for him to win me over. But Brandon Moreno nailed what this 3-fight win streak has done to KaraFrance. It took a guy who already had very good skills, amazing camp. Is he the next in line to join the Volkanovski Adesanya sort of level? Well, let's not put too much pressure on him. But Luke, confidence-wise, cocksure-wise, dude, he's showing that. He's upped his game. He's a finishing threat. There's a lot to love about this win streak and how it sort of seemed to supercharge him. I think he's dead on, Luke. I think he's going to win this fight. I think it's going to be fantastic to watch. But I love who he's become and where he's going right now. It's made me readjust a lot of how I look at this guy.
And also, Moreno spoke to you about, in fact, that first fight with KaraFrance and how he reflects on it. Here's what he said.
Was simple. I feel just like I decide to win, because I remember the first round was tough. I felt I lost that first round, but then I start to go forward and put pressure on him, and just believe in my technique and believe in myself, and I get it, and I got the victory. So this time, definitely, I'm expecting a whole different KaraFrance, more mature and more experience. But man, I think it's a fact. It's the same with me, right? Like more experience, more evolution in my technical stuff, and man, I can't describe with words how this feel, but I feel very motivated, man. I feel a lot of confidence.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, I did think he lost the first round when they fought. It was very, very close. But from the second round on, he just couldn't get going. KaraFrance.
Yeah, no question about it. And this is once again talking from a marketing side. A Mexican-born champion, the first they've ever had. They're putting this in Texas, Luke, putting an interim title on it. So Moreno has a chance to do big things. I don't know if you saw Dana do big things again.